Hello and welcome to Adobe Live, today about the Winter Wonderland. And I have Stephanie with me here today. So welcome, Stephanie. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Hi, Patricia. How are you?
I'm good as well. Thank you. So we will spend the next hour here together on Behance Live, Adobe Live. So everyone who's tuning in from YouTube, make sure to hop to Behance because you can use the chat here on Behance. You can write questions if you want to know anything about Stephanie or have any questions for us. Because this stream is a special one. Stephanie and we did a workshop together 2 weeks ago, I think, right?
Yes.
The Winter Wonderland, and we are going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. So Stephanie will share a little bit about like the process and how she actually came up with the whole concept. So this will be quite interesting. But we will also talk about the winning teams. So we will share a few projects. So if you participated, might be that we are going to share your projects. So it will be quite interesting. And yeah, make sure to use the chat, make sure to say hello, introduce yourself. I am super happy to answer your questions and or forward them to Stephanie if you have questions for her. But before we get started, we would like to do a quick introduction because this stream is a little bit different. It's not so much about like one host and one creative, but because we are both creative, so we are going to do the stream together today and tomorrow. And today is mostly about concepts. So how to get from an idea, framing the problem to a solution, and then like all the single steps, but we will see more in a second. So I would say, let's do a super quick introduction for everyone who doesn't know you or also doesn't know me, and then get started right away, right? So I will get over to Steph. Feel free to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what you're doing, and what are you doing?
Patricia. Yeah. Sure. Well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm the UX UI evangelist for Adobe in the UK. I used to host a lot of Adobe live streams, first lockdown long, and also the previous years at events where there was no COVID. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. But yeah, I've been with Adobe for a bit more than 2 years as UX UI evangelist, and I'm based in London.
Awesome. That's nice. So Steph and I are actually working together on different projects. So we did a few workshops in the past, right? And we worked on like different other projects together because I have been a creative resident at Adobe. And this is the reason why like we met and did a few live streams together and a few workshops. And this was the reason like we started the Winter Wonderland workshop 2 weeks ago. And so for everyone who doesn't know me, I also want to do like a super quick introduction. I think most people know me from Instagram, probably ux.patricia. Maybe we can show that real quick. And if you're interested about what I'm doing, I'm after I finished the Adobe residency program 1 year ago almost, I'm working as a freelance UX UI designer, innovation designer, especially focusing on augmented reality, virtual reality. So everything which involves immersive tech and new technologies, I would say. And if you're interested in, I don't know, what I'm doing, feel free to check out my Behance page. I'm sharing a lot of projects there and trying to explain a little bit the process, how I'm coming from a problem to an idea to a solution as well. But yeah, feel free to say hi on Instagram or wherever. I'm always super happy to connect. If you have questions, ask. And yes, I think that's it. Let's get started. And I would say, Stephanie, why don't you explain a little bit about the background of the Winter Wonderland? How does it all started? And what was the reason to do this huge community event 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, so maybe we should get started with my past. So prior to Adobe, I did work for IBM, and I was leading a lot of design thinking workshops with clients. When I joined Adobe, I focused on students, and you can also see that on my Behance, which is Stephanie number 4XD. So that's my Behance, and in here I have my summer camps. So I did in 2019 during summer, I did summer camps for students in our office where I was doing a 2-day design thinking workshop. So 1 day design thinking followed by, excuse me, 1 day design thinking followed by 1 day XD software training, building the prototype in XD. And that's where I gathered my contacts and where I was then traveling around the UK from university to university. And I was hosting workshops with and higher classes, as you can see here. So this was pretty cool. And I have gathered a lot of insight as well, good and bad. And I have come up with another solution, what is better suitable for students, I would say. So I was thinking, and also obviously now that we have the situation of home office, I also had to develop something to go digital with everything. So I started a very classic, this was all a design thinking workshop. So I started very classic, transforming my design thinking workshop into XD, because you guys might know via co-editing, you can invite all your attendees to the workshop. If you save it as a cloud file, this is just a local file for now. So you can invite all the attendees and then literally run a workshop there with people together. And it all started from classic design thinking. So it usually starts with business opportunity mapping. So this is all about, you ask what, like when I did the summer camps, I asked them, what problems have you come across recently? Like, what is your pain point? And then people came up with, oh, I need to move house, but I only have one table to move. And how do I move that or something? I don't want to pay a whole removal company for that. Or people said, my house is too hot and there's no aircon or things like that. Yeah. So all sorts of things. So this was the business opportunity mapping. And then we were literally, together as a team, like dragging out some problems and keeping other problems, because it was always about, was this problem tied to an existing product or a company or whatever that we can't change, or is it something that you can come up with as when you think entrepreneurship, like as a first invention, let's say. So, and then I just let the entire team vote which idea they want to go for. And this was the one we then moved forward to, and we created an empathy map. So that means you create a persona and you're typing down, what is this persona doing, saying, thinking, and feeling, just in general, not all in regards to the issue or the problem in the business opportunity mapping, but in general. So we can put ourselves into the shoes of that persona and really see what is their character. Based on that, we then created an as-is scenario. So in the current pain point scenario, what is the steps that the user is going through? So that is the as-is scenario. So you define a couple of steps. So here I have 6. That's usually a good amount. It can be less, it can be a little more. And then underneath you write throughout each single step, what is this person doing, thinking, and feeling? And you see where the post-its usually get crowded. This is the area where you then find the pain points. So I have created this circle that you can put on top of the pain points and move this around. So you can clearly see, okay, this is a difficult area. So then based on the pain points, we jump into ideation and we really think quantity over quality. So what ideas can we come up with to eliminate the pain points out of the user journey? And then everybody types like ideas. And then in the next round, every idea is being put in clusters. And then in the next round, people are voting for the cluster. And we take all the clusters and we put them in the prioritization board. So in the prioritization board, it's about how important is it to get rid of the pain points in the as-is scenario, and how feasible in terms of money is this idea. Yeah. And then usually there is 1, 2, 3 winning ideas up here, and these are the ones we move forward. Yep. And we create storyboards. So storyboards is mock up on 6 post-its how the future scenario looks like. So storyboard number 1 is usually the user with the existing problem. Then in post-it 2, 3, 4, and 5, you describe your idea. And in post-it 6, it's usually the happy end, because the user doesn't have the pain point anymore, because the user was given a solution. Then based on the storyboards, we usually create the vision statement. So vision statement is who, our persona that we have defined. what is our idea, what do we want to build, and what is the wow factor about what we want to build. Then in assumptions and risks, we really look at what did we assume about our persona, about the as-is scenario, and what are the risks that come with it. So a very simple one would be, we assume that our persona has a smartphone, and that's why we want to build a smartphone app. So if this is not true, if our persona doesn't have a smartphone, then the risk is that we're building an app that our target group is never going to use. So this is a simple one, but there are a lot of assumptions and risks that you always make about the persona and the whole scenario and so on. So this is what you type down here. So once you have typed that down, you copy assumptions and risk pairs and you put it in the validation plot. So this validation plot is high impact here at the top and low impact here at the bottom. And then the x-axis is known and unknown. So this is about how known or unknown is our assumption and how low or high of an impact does the risk come with. So obviously, if our persona doesn't have a smartphone, that's a high impact to our business idea. But how known or unknown is this? So if our persona, let's say, is based in Europe, it's very known that the person, our persona, should have a smartphone, unless they belong to a certain age group, right? But usually the age groups we design apps for in Europe, they do have smartphones. So that would be a known assumption. So it would come here. And this is how you basically plot all the assumptions and risk pairs in this entire validation plot.
But there are a lot of steps, right? So it's really thought through, and this is what the people in the chat.
we just have 3 more actually, and then we can get into some questions if there are any, if that's all right. Yeah. So after the validation plot, there's the hypothesis statement that we do. So we formulate that if we provide the persona that we defined with, and then our idea that we have come up with, we will get blah, blah, blah. So this is the metrics. So this is about if we provide them with this and this app, we will increase revenue, we will have a faster process, we will save employees time or blah, blah. Like these are the metrics we define in the hypothesis statement. And then we go into goals and future goals. And this is all about what should we build in our first prototype and what would be nice to have, but it's not relevant for the first test that we need to do to validate our assumptions. And then based on the goals and future goals, we define an MVP. So MVP statement stands for minimum viable product. So what is the smallest possible thing we can build to test our hypothesis? So this is just a sentence we're going to build and then the exact listing of what we're going to build for our persona and then in order to. So, and then based on this, we will follow up with wireframing, interactive prototype, visual design, usability testing, and then creating presentations and Q&A. So this is the full design thinking workshop that I have done also in the summer camps and then throughout the year with universities when it was still possible in person. And I know Patricia joined me to one of them. So Patricia knows the whole process in detail. So
yes.
Are there any questions so far?
So I think like the people in the chat really appreciate how thought through it is. And I think it's for designers, it's always really fascinating to see like all the different methods because they're like focused on the business part and not so much about the visual part. And I think that's really interesting because most of the times the idea is much more important than how it looks in the end. So you need to make sure that it's really valid. That's the reason why you do all the analysis in the beginning, right? So I think that's always really interesting to see. And where can people actually find the file you prepared? People can download it somewhere, right?
Yes. So I created this file. This is right here on my Behance to download. And I also created a little mobile prototype that explains the steps as well. So here's the share link, which is this one. So this entire app interface has all the points that I just described in them, and you can click through them. And it also has Alexa in them. So if you don't want to listen to me anymore, you can just go to the app prototype and switch on that button and listen to Alexa reading out all the exercises. So yeah, I did that. And on my Behance, you can download the demo file, of course. So this is the design thinking workshop. I have done exactly the same as well for remote design sprints. So design sprints stand from Google, if you're familiar with it. So you can download the entire sprint template here as well. And of course, our 5-hour UX UI workshop. So this is my very own version, which our Winter Wonderland was based on.
Nice, that's amazing. So if you want to use that, those are resources free and you can just download it, find it on Stephanie's Behance page. I think it's super amazing because you can just use them for your own projects. You can go through the whole process and you can learn a lot, like really great resources. And Stephanie put a lot of work in those files, explaining everything and like even creating voice prototypes. So it's easier for you to learn that. I think it's super awesome. So people were really curious to hear a little bit about the research part of that process. So is it something you involve research like in the process, or is this something you do in advance? How does it really work?
So usually every design project, in my opinion, should start with design thinking or design sprint. Like this just helps you to narrow down from a business perspective what to focus on, and not to set up like a 1 or 2 or 3 year long contract to build something that you're not even sure whether it's going to work or not. Yeah. So how as a designer, we always want to build it all. We want to have a fully functional mobile application and desktop and tablet as well, and all the three need to function and have like 20 menu points and blah blah. So, but this is not how the business works. This is not how you make money. This is how you lose money, because you're not sure if your tablet, desktop and mobile phone app with 20 menu points is going to be used. So why not starting with mobile first and just have 2 or 3 menu points? But how do you narrow down this entire bit? And also, how do you make sure there were in the past like a lot of projects, they just get started, and then based on what did they get started? Like what was the issue? And someone just had an idea and thought, oh, it would be great to have an app for X. No, maybe not. You need to put yourself in a persona first, because you're not designing for yourself. You're never the user. Ideally, you're always building it for someone else. So you always have to put yourselves in the shoes of your future users and really think through it properly. And this is what these techniques are really designed for.
I completely agree. And I think what's also really important to understand is that research can look very different, right? Like sometimes you have some kind of primary or secondary research in the beginning, right? Where you start with interviews or something like that. So this is like the base for everything you're doing. And sometimes you start with assumptions, and you start with like a made-up persona, and in the end you create a prototype and you test that, and there's like your big research part. So it depends on the time you're having and like what kind of questions you have in the beginning, I think, right? Because from my experience, if you do research, if you're like already have like a pretty good idea about what you want to design, and you want to integrate research and already have a prototype with you, that's most of the times really helpful, because you can combine the interview part and like other observation with a testing, right? And most of the times you don't have that in the beginning. From my experience, that's also really great to do a bigger research part after that kind of workshop, after you went through all the methods, right?
Yeah, it's definitely when you do your research first, then you will save time afterwards, loads of time. So the research takes a lot of time, but it will save you the majority of time afterwards if you have done your research properly. That's that's the whole thing of it. So whatever comes out here, you test your hypothesis, you build your first prototype, and then you do your usability testing. You really test it with users, and then you improve it or not. If you see that no one is going to use it anyway, or it doesn't work, then what have you wasted? You have probably wasted a week's worth of work, or 2 days in that specific scenario. It was a 2-day workshop with 1 day one day workshop and 1 day building a prototype and doing testing. But that's the maximum that you have wasted. If it doesn't work, then fair enough, you tried it, but you only wasted 2 days of the time and what it costs for a designer to pay for 2 days. So that's also why it's why tools like XD have evolved over the past years, because they're excellent prototyping tools. So you don't need to pay a whole development team over 3 months to build the exact same thing. that's why it's so important. And I remember back in the days before XD existed, like I used InDesign and built interactive PDFs to have like a prototype kind of stuff, and did testing there. And I mean, there were all sorts of tools, right? But yeah, this is definitely great. It's a lot quicker and a lot easier. But now we can even do remote workshops in Adobe XD through these files via co-editing. And I also want to highlight the whiteboard plugin. I actually just had a meeting with the team this morning, so there is more coming soon. So this is pretty cool. Yeah, this is. I love the whiteboard plugin. So if you wonder where I got all these beautiful Post-its from, they're not from Post-its, they're from the whiteboard plugin, and they are just right here in Elements. This is where you can get Post-it elements, and you can change the color to whatever color you want. It's very easy. You also have some icons here, emojis, thumbs up, thumbs down. Also these frames here that you can see, they're also from the whiteboard plugin. There are also flowchart labels. So if you want to do a flowchart, for example, there are a lot of items that you can use already. So you don't need to create them from scratch yourself, which is pretty cool for workshopping. And also, if you're keen in drawing, you can even switch to draw, and you can start drawing. If you have like a pen like me, a vacuum or something, you can just draw on top of an artboard, and then it places it as a path layer, which is pretty cool as well. So if you wanted to do, let's say, your storyboard in the whiteboard plugin, you could be doing that. So you just select your artboard and then click start drawing, and then you get this pop-up here, and then you can.
So make sure to check it out. I think those are really great tips for you at home. Just check it out, try it. I think we could like spend days talking about design thinking and all the methods, right? But let's move to the Winter Wonderland topic, and let's talk a little bit about the process, how we went there, because it's like some kind of a compressed version of the design thinking sprint, but with all the methods you need. So let's switch to that file and talk a little bit about what's the reason, and also how we went from the problem to the prioritization and the wireframes. I think
absolutely. So if you guys felt overwhelmed by design thinking, that was the inspiration to create a shorter version. Or also right here I have the design sprint. So some of you who might be familiar with design sprint, this is the whole mapping process: sketch, decide, prototype, and test process. So it's also a whole template. You can download it on my Behance. That's a design sprint. So if you feel overwhelmed by it, I took elements from both design sprint and design thinking and packed them into a 5-hour workshop. So I was really thinking, how can I turn all of this into a 5-hour workshop? So we have 1 hour per day over 1 week, basically. So what I have done is, for day one, I created the expert interview, which stems originally from the design sprint process. And in this process, I was interviewing Patricia about the Winter Wonderland. So the idea was really, some of you might know the Winter Wonderland here in London in Hyde Park, usually every year, but this year we have COVID, so it's canceled. And the whole idea was, I created this Adobe XD Winter Wonderland. And the idea was, what can we come up with to create a virtual Winter Wonderland? So the question was all about, this is my user, this is Patricia. I was asking her questions like, so what do you usually do when you go to the Winter Wonderland? What did you say?
So this is the research part, right? Like for the people who are wondering what this is about. So I talked about my experiences. So Stephanie, right, like asked me, what am I doing when I'm going there? So I talked about that I really love mulled wine, that I go there with colleagues and friends to just like meet up, have a drink and some conversations, that I really also like the games there and the food. I think it's really special, right? So the food there, like you have like the little almond and I don't know, like little pancakes and all the like delicious food there, which is super nice. You have great music. You really come into the Christmas vibe, but you also have amazing like handcrafted shops there. This is what, I don't know, I personally only see on those Christmas markets, Winter Wonderland areas, because I don't know, I think it's really special, right? Like just like spending a time there, strolling around, meeting up with friends, having a drink, when it's really cold with your gloves on, and then drinking it, buying some cool stuff, some handcrafted things. And so
these were the type of questions I did ask you during that expert interview session. This is what it's called. So Patricia was the expert and I interviewed her. And every problem that the attendees heard in the answers that Patricia gave us need to be rephrased into a how might we question. So you can see here what Patricia just told. We rephrased it to how might we get mulled wine to Patricia to enjoy with her friends? How might we get almonds to Patricia? How might we help Patricia to go virtually through the market? How might we help Patricia to meet her friends and have fun conversations? How might we recreate romance at the event? How might we help Patricia making this a weekly task? So many how might we questions and stuff. So it was really...
Sorry, but what is the reason framing that into like a how might we question? What is this actually, right? Because you could just like write down problems. So what's so special about how might we questions? Why do we start with that?
Because the how might we is about how like it phrases, it takes away this negativity from the problem and turns it into something positive, because we are already starting to think about the solution rather than the problem. Yeah. So this is the whole irony of it, or the magic, or whatever you want to call it, right? So and then based on the how might we questions, because this is a question and every question needs an answer. So the answer is the second board, which is ideation. So this stems from design thinking. So for every how might we question, phrase a couple of answers on each post-it. So what ideas can we come up with as an answer to the question? So we have things like VR goggles and sliding socks to ice figure skate at home. Online Christmas market shop, virtual game where Patricia can win a prize. We could build a Winter Wonderland food delivery service, sending empty parcels only filled with Winter Wonderland scent. Build a Winter Wonderland drive-in and meet all friends in the car park. VR goggles to replace the rides. So a lot of ideas here. User can enter the competition of writing best memory of Winter Wonderland, daily surprise like an advent calendar. So ideas over ideas over ideas over ideas. So loads. And this is really the focus. It's all quantity over quality with the ideation part.
And for all the people in the chat who might be wondering what this is all about, I feel you, because most designers are like, can we just get started with the design right away? But the cool thing is, when you start with like the problems and then coming up with ideas and prioritizing them, you really come up with a good idea and you make sure that it really provides value in the end. So if you don't design something, which comes in your mind, but you really go through the methods. And what's also important is most of the times you don't do that alone, but you do that in a team. And also during the Winter Wonderland, we divided the people in teams. Actually, Steph divided them in teams, to be honest, right? So you did that. Yeah. It was a lot of work. And the teams did that together. So what Steph just did alone was usually like a team task, right? So you discuss about that, about the how might be questions, about all that. So there's the discussion, and most of the times there are like more questions and how might we ideas and stuff are popping up when you talk about that. I think it's really important too.
Yeah, the ideation part really helps every participant to think outside of the box. And because there is no UX designer in the world that sits alone at home and thinks, let me have this idea and build an app now and then become successful. This is not how UX design works. UX design is always a collaboration. You always need end users. You always need a team. You always need testing. You need to gather your insights and stuff. And ideation, if you work with a team, it helps you with your initial idea. It's fine to have initial ideas, right? Everything is based on something. So if you have your initial idea and you go through the ideation process, this makes you think even bigger and think, how can I improve my idea from the very start onwards? Or how can I tweak my idea from the very beginning onwards and stuff? So this is what ideation is for, really, to think big and to really be creative about the solution process. So
I also have one other question for you, actually, because in the chat there are some discussions about like design sprint and design thinking, and there are like all those like crazy buzzwords flying around with like lean and agile and stuff. And what is the difference between the design sprint and design thinking, and for what kind of problems would you usually use them, right? They're not the same, so they're really different, right? Like, how would you explain that to the people listening?
Yeah, so design thinking is one of the things that stems from the West Coast in the US. So there's the Stanford School who has developed a lot of these techniques. And I was trained in San Francisco in the IBM office back in the days, how to run a design thinking workshop. And I feel a design thinking workshop, as IBM has developed it, is very good for entrepreneurship ideas. So if you want to invent something new, and the design sprint was invented by Jake from Google. And I feel the whole process is more designed for existing processes or existing products to improve them. I mean, both techniques can be used for either way, but I personally think that design thinking is better suited for a new idea, for entrepreneurship, and design sprints are better suited for improving existing processes. But I like a lot of, like, for example, this here, my 5-hour workshop, right? I took the expert interview from the design sprint and I took the ideation from the design thinking, because I thought they fit perfect together in my 5-hour scheme. So like all these techniques have advantages and disadvantages. You just, like if you are a workshop host, an experienced one, you just have to pick the right one for you that suits you and put them together. But if you are not experienced, just follow the standard guideline, like the one that I set up, like the standard design sprint, the standard design thinking, and get away with it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. I think it's clear now.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Thanks for explaining. There are a lot of like things going on in the chat. Some people are asking about your unicorn. I think there was something going on during summer. I have missed that. Obviously, I don't know.
Yeah, so it's December now, so unicorns are hibernating. If you haven't known that yet, so they are hibernating in my bedroom behind there. That's why they are not here today, but. Next summer, I'm sure they will be out again.
Because Steph usually hosts those kind of streams, and during summer she did a lot of those streams, and there was obviously like a unicorn on your balcony or something like that.
Yeah, everywhere. I had a few.
Right?
Like I have 3 unicorns, and yeah, they were all here. Hanging out with me, because we weren't allowed to meet any other households during lockdown, so you go a bit, you know. I was hanging out with unicorns. Yeah, okay. No household mixing. This is what turns out of it.
With like unicorns, I think it's fine, right? So you don't break the rules.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. But yeah,
it's nice. We all need a little bit of fun, right? Like
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, back to topic.
To the Wonderland. Yeah. So this was day 1. So we introduced we did the expert interview, and then people were writing how might we questions, and we were going from team to team to team to help them out. And then afterwards we went live again, and we introduced the ideation exercise. And then again we went from team to team to team to see how they're getting on, and help them out, and checked what they were writing, what ideas they have had. Yeah.
Nice.
And then on day 2, we did prioritization and wireframe. And the prioritization plot also comes from the design thinking setup, but in a different way. So the idea was that there was a maximum of 8 people in each team, and each team member takes their favorite idea from this ideation plot. And it doesn't have to be their own idea, it can be from anyone. But every attendee, every group member just takes one idea, copies and pastes it down here to the prioritization plot. So this was our plot, and then in that plot we decided how important is this idea as an answer to the how might we question, and how feasible in terms of money and time and technical abilities is it to actually build that.
Yeah.
Then our winners were online Christmas market shop and remote mulled wine tasting. So this was the first exercise that we introduced. And then again, we went from team to team and checked how they were getting on. And then we introduced the wireframing exercise. So how could this idea look like in a mobile app? Well, we gave people the option, use whatever you think is right for your audience, because we had people signing up literally from all over the planet. Like every continent had signed up to our Winter Wonderland. And I know from previous client projects, because I also traveled around the globe before COVID happened, and when I was working as a design consultant. And it always depends. Like, for example, in Asia, it's more the market for Android. In America and Europe, it's more the market for iPhone and things like that. They're just demographics. And then there are also certain areas, for example, Africa, it's more likely that they have a computer than a smartphone. So maybe you should start with the computer desktop design first before you design a mobile app, because more people seem to have a computer or something like that. So this all depends on demographics. So we just decided, because the Winter Wonderland is in London, our persona was obviously Patricia. Patricia is based in Berlin and she can't come to London to the Winter Wonderland. Patricia obviously has a smartphone, we know that. So how can we build a mobile application experience for Patricia to enjoy the online Christmas market shop and the remote mulled wine tasting? And then we came up with this structure here, really, menu, and then we have craft market, decoration, handmade goods, because this was one of the answers she gave us, that she really likes shopping there. Then food market, sweets, savory food and biscuits, and then virtual drinks, mulled wine, hot chocolate, tea, or recipes as well. So we had this was like the online shop. So you would have an image, product description, price, and add to basket. And this was the same for every of the shop items. And then further down, we have the virtual drinks, mulled wine. So we either have the image, product description, price, and add to basket, and then send the same order to 3 nearby friends, and then join virtual drinks once the order will have arrived to all 3 nearby friends. And then you are in your basket checkout, and it tells you the price, and then just place your order, and then it goes to this page and or screen. And then on this screen, you would have the host, which is Patricia, and her 3 friends that join it. And then if you haven't received your order or your friends live too far away, make your own, and then you would have a recipe list underneath. And then create virtual drinks event is what you could do as well, and have another screen, and so on. So this process is like endless, right? I could have gone on and say, okay, create a virtual event, date, time, friends, event name, what else, and then create another screen, another screen, another screen, and so on. So again, this is a design thinking workshop. So how do we narrow this down? Because this is already looks like a big prototype, right? Because on day 3, it was all about how to start your first interactive prototype. So we did this together, and how to even wireframe. So we have in XD design, prototype, and share. And in prototype mode, how did we connect like the cards or something like that? And then this would be the first prototype that we can already test with someone. Do you understand what's on the screen? What do you think you can do on the screen? What do you think this app is all about? But then we quite quickly realized this is a bit much, and how can we narrow it down even further? And teams have narrowed it down in their own ways. Some split it up. So 2 people were doing this flow, the other 2 people were doing the other flow. So Patricia and I were just 2 people, right? So Patricia is going to show her flow that she has chosen tomorrow. And what we did was the vision statement that you might remember from the design thinking workshop. So the vision statement is about who, what, and wow. So this is about who is Patricia, what, this is our app. So all of this wireframe is our app, and what was the wow factor. And Patricia really decided, the wow factor for me is the virtual mulled wine drinking with my friends. So Patricia only created this entire flow here. So this was day 3 anyway. And I also want to highlight that our attendees have worked more than just that 1 hour. So we had a lot of groups that were working tireless. Like, I mean, I was working as well, trying to help everyone and putting groups together. I mean, I set up the groups before already, but then some people didn't show up, so we had to merge some groups and stuff. It was a lot of admin work. But then I was not alone there. Like, even at night when I was still like at 8, 9 p.m. and stuff, I was still there, and people were online and really working with one another and really getting these flows right and doing usability testing. It was so great to see, like, really impressive.
Yeah, people were so motivated, right? Like when we like joined the conversations, they were all like so nice and so motivated and very positive. And I don't know, I think it's always like really fascinating for me seeing people who spend like their free time not like watching Netflix or so, but really working on something, like, you know, wanting to get better and new connection, really use especially the time now to improve themselves, get better, learn something new, connect with the community. And I don't know, I think this is always like very, I don't know, I'm very fascinated by people who do that, because other people are just like at home complaining and watching Netflix and so I really love if people are, I don't know, like doing
it was a great event. And on day 4, Patricia and I, because I always I don't want to tell people this is what you need to apply now, this is the kind of design you need to apply. I want everybody to be creative in their own way. So both Patricia and I showed some of our demo files, which are also on our Behance, and just to give inspiration. This is what's possible to do and stuff. So I have shown, if you want to get that file as well, I have shown my Adobe Max 2020 UI kit that I have developed with the latest Max updates. You can also download it from there. It's basically a mobile application for healthcare workers and for patients, so they don't have to get in direct contact with one another to avoid the spread of COVID. So the patient would have an Alexa device and the carer would have a mobile app. So this is all findings, key findings from a design thinking workshop. And then this is the MVP, and this is the mobile application. So Claire is the carer. She can check on her patient all sorts of details that she needs to know. The patient is wearing an Apple Watch that feeds back to the carer's mobile application. And then also the carer's mobile application can send reminders on the Apple Watch, or also the Alexa device, or also in the patient's bathroom. There could be an interactive mirror or interactive glass if they needed help, so they can call one another rather than being in direct contact with one another. Or this is the Alexa device with a screen in the living room, let's say, and this was the simple interface. So yeah, if you want to learn more, you can download it here and also click through. But this was the inspiration I had given, so has nothing to do with Winter Wonderland. This was just to get ideas. And Patricia also showed incredible work of hers, which I think is all on her Behance as well. Am I right?
Yes. So feel free to check it out, go through it. I also have a few files you can download. The Smart Home, for example, is an augmented reality starter kit for Adobe XD. There was a contest last week, so make sure to check it out, right? We have a lot of free resources for you.
And this is the inspirations we really wanted to give to people and see what they come up with. And then we asked for day 5, we asked them to produce a presentation. So you can also do presentations in XD, and I find this super important, especially when you have a lot of teams, right? We had over 30 active teams working in our Winter Wonderland, and we had over 20 submissions, so teams who really submitted their work to us, which is a lot. And that's why I find it always important, because it's like that in reality as well. If you go for a pitch, if you want to convince a client, you can't just send them an app prototype and then expect them to click through the entire prototype and understand it without any explanation. People just don't have time. That's just the fact. So we ask all the attendees, can you please create a presentation and explain in the presentation, like what are your goals, what has been your 4 days like, what have you done as a team, and what is the content of your application, And then how did you get there? Explain a bit, the story. And this here was my presentation to the Winter Wonderland. So what is it really and how easy it is to build a presentation. So it's just a normal web design screen, and the screens are just wired to one another, as you can see in prototype mode, just with a push left, and that's how easy you can build presentations. So this was our whole concept, and we had as I said, over 20 submissions, and we selected the top 5. But before I show some of our top 5, are there any questions in the chat anymore?
So there are a lot of people asking if something similar is happening again next year, that they would love to see more of those kind of workshops.
I mean, be surprised, but we are definitely planning more of this, because the Winter Wonderland was a huge success for us. So we will tweak a few bits and pieces to make sure everyone who signs up also attends. So it will be easier for us with the team constellation and stuff. But we definitely want to do that more, because what I really liked, the feedback that we got, was people, complete strangers, were meeting virtually and formed a team and were working hard on it. So it was even though we had prizes to give away, we still, I think the main value everybody got out of this workshop was the networking aspect. Because you met basically with 7 strangers in a team, and then you worked on something, and you're connected, you're connected for good. And then the next time we do that again, you will get connected again with complete strangers, and you will work with other professionals together. And that's just always great. And this is how the real life works as well. Like when you go from client to client, you never know who you're going to meet before you get there, right? It's always a surprise. And then you just have to put yourself in their shoes very quick and just work together very quick. You don't have any warm-up time or God knows what. So it's just like that. And I think this was really the main thing about this event, that people were networking and met one another. And I don't know, you probably as well, but I have received a lot of messages as well. So thank you guys for all the messages, and that they enjoyed meeting new friends and stuff, and learning about this technique. And we were really, as I said before, we were really amazed how much effort people put in some of these things. I mean, we saw mad amount of hours. I just can't show the statistics because of confidentiality, but we had crazy amount of hours that people have spent in the event, which makes us very proud. I couldn't agree more. Totally. I think it was really wonderful doing the workshop, and also especially right now, most of us had more or less a difficult year. So ending the year with something positive and meeting new people, I think is really nice also for the community. So we were probably planning on more of those kind of workshops. We just need to figure out topics, ideas and stuff. So thank you for all your nice words and messages. I think we really appreciate that, because it was a lot of work for us. Can I show some of our top 5?
Yes.
Or all of our top 5,
But before we are showing the top 5, I also want to say what will happen tomorrow, because we have 2 days. So today was mostly about the workshop, the general workshop, all the single steps, the concept part. And tomorrow we will move on to the design part. So we came up with concept and the wireframes and everything, and tomorrow we will design the screens together, and also guide you through the process of choosing the right colors and typography and a mood board, and how you really come up with a clickable prototype. You can test that. So the design part, as
so this one here,
right? This one,
and day 4, which is empty here because Patricia is going to build it tomorrow for us.
Live.
Yes.
Exactly. So this will happen tomorrow, and let's have a look at some
our top 5. So we have here, this was our team dark blue, and you can see just by zooming out what an amount of work the guys have done. So isn't that amazing just to see? mood boards, different flows. But then that was also the cool stuff for us. We asked them, okay, please label your flows so we know which is your final one. And we're only looking at the final one. And this was their app flow, which I think the idea was really nice in here. So their whole idea was about supporting local businesses throughout this time, local businesses who can't sell things on the Winter Wonderland, at the moment. So how can they go online and still sell goods and make money? So this is what this whole app prototype from Team Dark Blue was all about. Then we have...
Well done!
Yeah, well done. Then we have Team Bright Green. This was their presentation, absolutely stunning presentation and prototype as well.
Lovely color choice also, I think.
Yeah, really, really cute color choice. And can you see the animations? Like this was just, very special. And you see how the presentation is built. So they put some of their research in there. They put key prioritization in there. They describe the app idea with, as you can see, it's moving, it's interactive. They show the user flows. This presentation was just so well structured and so easy to understand and also nice to look at. They showed their wireframe flow. They showed the whole prototyping and testing and also typed down their findings, which is always very good to hear, and what they have changed, why they have changed it. This is their visual design, like just very, very pretty. I mean, yeah, this, and then obviously funny pictures as well. These were their events. This was behind the scenes, their process. Yeah, so really nice presentation, visually appealing for sure, and also this app prototype as well. So like this whole animation, so they really figured out what is possible with XD. Like really beautiful visuals for sure. So this was Team Bright Green, so congrats. Then we have Team Bright Red. So we can see, again, they have done a lot of research here. We can see like a lot of wireframing. So that's also always nice to see, I find, because teams work differently. Teams have different flow, and there's not, that's also why there is design sprint. That's why there's design thinking, because there is no right and wrong flow. Like there are just different ways of getting to a solution. And this is definitely a really cool way as well. So their presentation was also really cool. This was, let me get this started. So very appealing presentation, very clear words, bullet points, live Christmas market with live arts and crafts in there. So very nice idea, and also super nice visuals, I think. So the idea was really different from the others, I would say, and also some nice animations, as we can see. So this was, yeah, some live arts and craft in here. So they had mood boards as well, and this down here was their final prototype, as you can see, to invite friends and vote for a topic and things like that. So really nice flow. So Team Bright Red, congratulations as well. Then we have Team Brown as well. So Team Brown, they have done, as you can see, they have broken down their ideas or their flows into several different flows. So they were more team members than just Patricia and me. So they could do more things. So they had like a profile, a sign-up page. Then they created live events. So you can join a live Christmas concert. So I really like that they were thinking about the musicians who are also unemployed because the Winter Wonderland isn't happening. So they can join a live Christmas concert. Also a recipe page, so people can cook together in real time and also order Christmas market stuff. So they have done like this entire different flows or story writing. So people would share Christmas stories and write them to read out or something like that. So they put a lot of ideas in an app flow, which I think was great as well. So this was Team Brown. Congratulations to them as well. And then last but not least, Team Fade Orange. And they had a really cool presentation as well, very compact, and the interactive prototype, like very in-depth, as you can see, a lot of screens. But let's go to the presentation, because that's exactly what I mean. Like if there are too many screens, it's better to have a quick presentation that you can just quickly show and just see the key facts, what is in there. So they put also research, ideas. They also worked with nice elements, information architecture, wireframes, mood board, color palette. So their style guidelines, they put their design stuff in there as well. And then the interactive prototype. So yeah, really nice ideas, as you can see.
Well done.
Just clicking through that. Yeah, definitely well done. So these were our top 5 who have all won a prize. So congrats to all of you.
Yay! I think in the end, honestly, it's not so much about like winning, because actually all team like put so much work on their prototypes and everything. And I think what you can really like get out of this is working, like learning something, meeting new people, collaborating, and also have a project you can put in your portfolio, right? So we always recommend like create a case study, share that on Behance, share that on LinkedIn, share that on Instagram, on your social media, and explain the story, like the whole process. Especially if you're looking for a job or if you're a freelancer or something like that, people need to see how you work. And this is a really great way, right? Because you have a project and you can use that. So people always ask me like, oh, I don't have any projects, but I want to apply for a job. Use the projects you're working on and really present them well and share them. We already have seen a few people sharing like really beautiful case studies on Behance. I think that's awesome. And we are both super happy to see that. So if you're sharing them somewhere, make sure to tag us or so. We are always happy to check them out and see what you were creating there, right? Because like also how you present your work in the end is a really important part of that, right? Because
I think some teams were even are still working on it. So they kept working on it. So they have more to add in their portfolio, which I think is great. And we also said, you know, people, all people can join. Like you don't need to have any previous experience. And if you just want to join to have the experience and to learn a little bit, that's fine as well. We didn't say you have to hand in something. We really ask you if you want to hand in and be part of the competition, please do so. But you don't have to. You can just do it for fun. If you can't put a lot of time in it, if you just have this 1 hour per day, that's absolutely fine as well. You just invest that 1 hour per day. That's fine. And just go at your own pace. But then we still, like, we had a lot of submissions. Like we looked through over 20 submissions and they were all great. Like everyone has really done a fully functional prototype plus a fully functional presentation. So I'm really proud of all the submissions. Like they have done a great job. And it was really hard for us to really find the top 5 that have won a prize in the end. But yeah, these were the top 5. So yeah, it was definitely a great experience. And yeah, we're planning something again in the next year. Let's see how that develops. But
exciting times for us digital people, digital designers, right? So I hope everyone who watched learned something new and you got some insights in the design process. And I think it was really interesting to see like the different, I would say like workshop styles Stephanie just presented to us, because in the end, it's so much about knowing the right methods for the right problem and combining everything, how that works in the end for you. So make sure to check out the resources Stephanie has on her Behance. You can download a lot of those things. Make sure to check out the wireframe plugin. And yeah, I can only say thank you for guiding us through the whole workshop and explaining everything. I think it was really helpful for us and the people in the chat. And tomorrow will also be super interesting. So make sure to tune in tomorrow as well, because tomorrow is about design. So will be quite interesting. You can also ask questions, and yeah, we're looking forward to see you there, right? So thank you, Steph.
Thank you, Patricia, and thank you all for watching and for participating in our Winter Wonderland, of course. Like,
yes,
that was great. And we see you back tomorrow about flow, like how to create an interactive prototype and how to apply visual design.
Awesome. Have a lovely day, everyone, and see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Bye. Bye.